A few weeks back, I made a card that could fly as well as swim. However, it was a simple build and has plenty of room for improvement. So, that's what we'll do today. Let's get to it. The build that inspired this idea is right here. As you can see, it drives with no issue, and even flies when sent airborne. But most importantly, it also treads through water with absolute ease. In order to scale this up, the most important thing I have to keep in mind is weight. In my mind, I can't call something a car if it doesn't have wheels. So my first thought was to take a light vehicle like our homemade Breath of the Wild bike and see if I can make it fly by adding a couple of fans to it. And right off the bat, we aren't really flying or hovering. However, it does swim, but kinda slowly. I noticed on my way back to the base that the fan placement was a little too low. And fixing that made the bike drive better, but we still weren't flying like I'd hoped for. If I want this design to work, we will for sure need more fans. So I added 2 more. And that changed everything. Suddenly, the bike was much faster on land, and even handled great while in the air. But most importantly, it could also tread through water way faster, and with ease. But what really surprised me is when I went to take it back to the base, it climbed this little hill with no issues, which is something the simple build couldn't do. So that makes this bike design a great all-terrain vehicle. That's one flying boat car down, but I think if I put my mind to it, I could probably come up with another one. So I started messing around. The best way I know to make something fly is to use this rail material, since it's super light. But I also want it to drive. So maybe just one small tire with the stabilizer attached will do the trick. After a while of trying to get all the placements just right, I finally cut it on to see if this idea was heading in the right direction. And thankfully, it would hover when sent off the side of a cliff. So that's a great start. However, I did notice when I launched it off our main cliff, it still flew, but not as well as our last creation. And as for the last test, our device had no issues treading water. But unlike our other build, it couldn't completely make it up that small incline. So I wouldn't go climbing hills with this one. Of course, since I wasn't happy with the fact that it couldn't make it up that hill, I decided to remove the stabilizer and add 2 more fans. Which pretty much turned this thing into a flying device. It could drive, kinda, but it mostly would just fly around. And as for its swimming capabilities, well, it flew. And yeah, we get the picture. It flies now. So, I guess it was better before adding more fans. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, leave a comment, cause I respond to those pretty often. And as always, I'll catch you next time.